The scent of honeysuckle usually brought me joy, a sweet reminder of lazy summer evenings and the promise of warmth. But on that crisp autumn morning, a week before what was supposed to be my 5th wedding anniversary, the delicate fragrance twisting through our open bedroom window felt like a cruel mockery. I was Daisy, a 29-year-old marketing executive, and my life, just moments before, had been a perfectly curated picture of success and happiness. My husband, Mark, a seemingly devoted financial advisor, was the architect of this perfect life. He was charming, handsome, and impeccably dressed, with a laugh that could fill a room and a smile that had once melted all my reservations. He had meticulously planned what he promised would be a lavish celebration for our milestone anniversary, a private dinner at the city's most exclusive rooftop restaurant, followed by a surprise weekend getaway to Napa Valley. He'd been hinting about it for months, promising it would be a night to remember. "Only the best for my Daisy," he'd whispered into my hair just last night, kissing my temple. The words now tasted like ash. I had woken early, filled with that giddy pre-anniversary excitement. Mark was still asleep beside me, his breathing even and deep. I tiptoed out of bed, planning to surprise him with coffee before his early morning run. As I passed his side of the bed, I saw his phone light up on his nightstand. A new text message. Normally, I wouldn't even glance. We had an unspoken trust, a comfortable transparency, but something, a flicker of intuition, made me pause. And then, another text came through, the screen illuminating with a name I didn't recognize, followed by a string of heart emojis. A cold prickle started on the back of my neck. My fingers, almost against my will, reached for the phone. I didn't unlock it, just leaned closer, my heart giving a nervous flutter. Then it rang. An incoming call, from the same name. Mark stirred, groaning softly, reaching for his phone. I instinctively pulled back, ducking behind the dressing screen. He answered, his voice thick with sleep, then quickly dropping to a hushed murmur. "Hey, honey. Yeah, I know. I miss you too." "Honey?" My breath caught in my throat. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a client. This wasn't a casual colleague. This was intimate. Secret. He got out of bed, padding softly towards the ensuite bathroom, his voice barely audible now. I strained to listen, every nerve ending tingling with dread. The faucet turned on, masking most of his words, but then the water quieted for a moment, and his voice, sweeter and softer than I'd heard it in months, floated out. No, don't worry about it. It's just, for show. This is just a fake anniversary, honey." My world tilted. The honeysuckle scent suddenly felt suffocating. My hands flew to my mouth, stifling a gasp. My nails dug into my palms. A fake anniversary? What in God's name was he talking about? My mind scrambled, trying to make sense of the incomprehensible words. He laughed softly, a low, intimate chuckle. "Yeah, she thinks it's a big romantic gesture. Little does she know. I'm going to give her the divorce papers then." The words hit me like a physical blow, punching the air from my lungs. Divorce papers. At our anniversary celebration. It wasn't just a fake anniversary. It was a setup, a calculated, cruel deception designed to humiliate me. "Yeah," he continued, completely oblivious to my presence. "It's really our divorce-iversary." He chuckled again, a sound so utterly devoid of empathy, so filled with smug satisfaction, that it turned my blood to ice. Can you believe it? Poetic, right? I froze. A chilling wave of disbelief washed over me, then a tidal wave of pain, followed by a burning, incandescent fury. The man I had loved, built a life with, trusted implicitly, was not just cheating on me. He was orchestrating a public spectacle of my humiliation. He was planning to serve me divorce papers in front of our friends and family, labeling it our divorce-iversary. The sheer malice, the premeditated cruelty, was breathtaking. My mind reeled. The 5 years of marriage, the shared dreams, the tender moments, were they all a lie? Had I been so blind, so naive? The perfect life I thought I had built, crumbled into dust around me. My vision blurred, tears stinging my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not now. Not for him. I heard the toilet flush, the sound of water running, signaling his imminent return. I silently backed away from the bathroom door, my movements precise, my heart a frantic drumbeat in my chest. I had to get out. I had to think. I slipped out of the bedroom, grabbed my car keys, and was out the front door within seconds. I fumbled for the ignition, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn the key. The car roared to life, and I sped away from the house, from the illusion, from the betrayal. I drove aimlessly, tears streaming down my face, hot and stinging. The honeysuckle scent outside the window had been a lie. Mark's kisses, his promises, his carefully planned anniversary celebration, all a lie. My world was not just shattered, it was pulverizing. Every cherished memory was tainted, every shared smile poisoned. But amidst the crushing despair, a strange sensation began to emerge. A spark, a tiny, flickering ember of something cold and hard. As the initial shock and heartbreak receded, a quiet, steely determination settled within me. He wanted a divorce anniversary? Fine. He wanted to make a spectacle of me? Fine. He wanted to be poetic? Oh, I could be poetic. I could be an epic poem. I could be a Greek tragedy starring him. I pulled over to the side of the road, wiping the tears from my eyes with a fierce, almost savage motion. My breath was still coming in sharp, painful gasps, but my mind was clearing. The pain was still there, a raw wound, but it was now overlaid with a crystalline focus. Mark thought he was clever. He thought he had the upper hand. He thought he could write the ending to our story, paint me as the unsuspecting victim. But he had gravely underestimated me. He had forgotten who I was, a marketing executive. My job was to anticipate trends, analyze data, and craft compelling narratives. His narrative for our divorce anniversary was amateur hour. I would write a better one, a devastating one. I took a sharp, painful breath. It burned, but it also filled my lungs with resolve. The tears stopped. My mind, sharp and clear again, began to formulate a plan. An unexpected plan, a shocking plan, a plan that would turn his meticulously planned humiliation into his very own public undoing. He wanted a dramatic unveiling. He was going to get one. But it wouldn't be mine. It would be his, and it would be glorious. The week that followed was a blur of calculated precision. The initial shock and heartbreak had crystallized into a cold, diamond-hard resolve. Mark thought he was setting the stage for my humiliation. I would simply redefine the performance. I spent the next week meticulously planning my counterattack. Every phone call, every email, every clandestine meeting with a private investigator and my sharpest lawyer felt like laying tripwires for an unsuspecting opponent. I moved through my days at the marketing firm with an eerie calm, my colleagues none the wiser. My face, usually an open book, was now a mask of serene anticipation. On the night of the supposed anniversary, the grand ballroom of the Sterling Hotel, one of the city's most opulent venues, literally sparkled. Chandeliers dripped with crystals, casting a warm glow over tables adorned with white roses and flickering candles. The air hummed with the soft murmur of conversations and the clinking of champagne flutes. It was filled with our closest friends and family, a tapestry of faces from my bewildered Aunt Carol to Mark's smug-looking business partners, all utterly oblivious to the impending explosion. I arrived fashionably late, on purpose. Mark had wanted drama. I would give him an entrance. I wore the dress he loved, a deep sapphire silk gown that clung to my figure, making me look every inch the radiant, unsuspecting wife. My hair was styled perfectly, my makeup flawless. I looked like a woman celebrating 5 years of blissful marriage, not one about to detonate a bomb. Mark's eyes lit up when he saw me, a proprietary gleam I now recognized as sickeningly false. He rushed to my side, planting a kiss on my cheek that felt like ice. "There you are, my love, the belle of the ball," he whispered, his voice oozing with a deceptive charm that made my skin crawl. He led me to our table at the front, directly facing the small, elevated stage where a microphone stood waiting. The dinner service was a blur. I nibbled at my food, making small talk, my heart beating a steady, furious rhythm against my ribs. I caught glances from his business associates, from a few of his more gossipy relatives. They looked genuinely happy for us. Oh, they had no idea. The irony was almost overwhelming. Then came the moment. The lights dimmed slightly. Mark stood up, tapping a fork against his champagne flute. The room quieted, all eyes turning to him. He grinned, that utterly self-satisfied grin I had once found so charming, now a grotesque mask of deceit. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice resonating through the microphone. "Thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate a truly special occasion. 5 years." He paused, letting the word hang in the air, allowing the murmurs of congratulations to ripple through the room. My hand tightened around my glass. My lawyer, Mr. Henderson, a sharp-eyed woman with a reputation for merciless litigation, was seated discreetly at a table near the back, pretending to be a distant cousin. She gave me a subtle nod. It was time. Mark, with a smug smile, raised a toast. "Tonight," he announced, his voice gaining a dramatic flourish, "isn't just our 5th anniversary. It's actually the celebration of a new beginning." A wave of applause, murmurs of awe, and hopeful smiles washed over the crowd. People thought he was going to announce a baby, or a new venture, or perhaps renew our vows. They leaned forward, eager for the next romantic declaration. His eyes found mine across the room, and his smugness intensified, a cruel glint flashing within them. He knew. He thought I was completely in the dark. Then, with a flourish that reeked of calculated theatrics, he dramatically produced a set of divorce papers. Not just one flimsy sheet, but a thick, official-looking document, clearly a signed petition. A collective gasp rippled through the room, a wave of stunned silence following in its wake. Faces contorted in confusion, then shock. My mother-in-law, seated at the next table, clapped a hand over her mouth. "Daisy," he said, his voice dripping with false pity. "I'm sorry it had to come to this, but sometimes 2 people just grow apart. It's time for us to move on." He held up the papers, waving them gently. "Consider this, our formal declaration." Before the shock could fully register on anyone's face, before a single person could utter a coherent word, Mark looked towards the back of the room, a triumphant sneer on his lips, and, with a flourish, he gestured towards a woman stepping from the shadows, his mistress. She emerged, bathed in the spotlight from the stage, a tall blonde woman in a slinky red dress, her eyes defiant, a small, knowing smile on her lips. It was Bethany, one of the newer financial analysts at Mark's firm. I had seen her in passing a few times, always dismissing the faint flicker of unease I felt about her overly familiar demeanor with Mark. Now, it all clicked into place. The crowd gasped. Louder this time. A ripple of profound shock spread through the room. People whispered, pointed. Some rose halfway from their seats, their faces a mixture of horror and morbid fascination. My Aunt Carol let out a small, choked sob. Mark took a step forward, his arm reaching for Bethany's waist, pulling her closer, as if to cement his victory. "This," he announced, his voice booming with a sickening sense of triumph, "is Bethany. She's the future. And tonight—" He looked directly at me, his eyes blazing with malicious glee. "Isn't our 5th anniversary, Daisy. It's really our divorce-iversary." The words hung in the air, heavy with his venom, designed to crush me, to humiliate me beyond repair. He looked at me, expecting tears, collapse, a public breakdown. He expected the stunned, broken victim. But I wasn't broken. Not anymore. I had rehearsed this moment 100 times in my head. I had felt the pain, absorbed the shock, and channeled it into pure, surgical resolve. A calm, almost serene smile touched my lips. I met his gaze, my eyes unwavering, betraying none of the furious satisfaction bubbling within me. The grand ballroom, once a symbol of his deceit, was about to become the stage for his undoing. He had dropped his bomb. Now it was my turn. Mark's voice, announcing his divorce adversary and presenting Bethany to the stunned crowd, had resonated with smug triumph. He stood there, basking in what he assumed would be my public meltdown, but he had made one critical miscalculation. He hadn't accounted for the quiet, simmering rage of a woman meticulously planning her revenge. Just as Mark's smug expression reached its peak, I, with an icy calm that belied my inner turmoil, stepped forward. Every eye in the room swiveled to me. The raw pain I had felt was now a finely honed weapon. "Indeed, Mark," I stated, my voice clear and cutting through the stunned silence. It was loud enough to carry through the microphone, which I subtly pulled closer to myself. "A new beginning for all of us." His triumphant smirk faltered, replaced by a flicker of confusion. Bethany, standing beside him, shifted nervously. They probably expected tears, begging, a dramatic collapse. What they got was controlled composure. With synchronized precision, I too produced a set of divorce papers, not from a pocket or a purse, but from the inside flap of the elegant clutch I carried, designed perfectly for this reveal. I held them up, identical to his, signed, sealed, and ready for filing. A fresh wave of gasps rippled through the ballroom. People looked from his papers to mine, confusion deepening. "You see," I continued, my voice steady, "Mark is absolutely right. This is a celebration of a new beginning, just not quite the one he envisioned." My gaze swept over the stunned faces in the room, then landed squarely on Mark, whose eyes were now wide with dawning horror. But that wasn't all. This was the crescendo. From the very same elegant clutch, I withdrew another document, a large, undeniable printout. It was an 8x10 sheet, laminated, ensuring every detail was painfully clear, even from a distance. I unfolded it slowly, deliberately, giving everyone a moment to register what they were seeing. The top half was a montage of damning evidence, incriminating photos of his mistress, Bethany, with another man. Not just one photo, but a series. Bethany, laughing, intimately embracing a muscular man with a dark beard. Bethany, holding hands with him at a park. Bethany, kissing him passionately in what looked suspiciously like her own apartment building lobby. Undeniable proof of her own two-timing. The bottom half of the printout was even more devastating. It was the official results of a DNA paternity test, unequivocally stating that the mistress's child, a toddler Bethany often brought to company events and introduced as Mark's goddaughter, was not Mark's. The bold black letters screamed exclusion, where inclusion should have been, confirming no biological relationship. I held the document aloft, turning it slowly so everyone in the room could see. The grand ballroom erupted in chaos. Shouts, gasps, and horrified murmurs filled the air. "What the hell is this?" Mark roared, his face draining of all color. His smug triumph had evaporated, replaced by utter disbelief and a terrifying, dawning realization. He snatched the paper from my hand, his eyes scanning the photos, then darting to the DNA results. His jaw dropped. Bethany, meanwhile, had gone from defiant to pale, then to a sickly green. Her eyes, wide with panic, darted nervously between the damning photos and the angry faces of Mark's family and business associates. She had clearly been operating under the assumption that I was a fool, easily discarded. The revelation of her own deception, amplified by the DNA results, was a gut punch she hadn't anticipated. "Mark, what is she talking about?" A voice from the crowd, probably Mark's mother, shrieked. "Silence!" Mark bellowed, his voice raw with fury. He whirled on Bethany, his face contorted in a mask of betrayal. "Who is this? What is this? Is this true?" Bethany stammered, her polished facade crumbling. "Mark, no, it's not what it looks like." "Not what it looks like?" I interjected, stepping closer, my voice gaining strength, savoring every word. "Oh, I think it's exactly what it looks like, Mark. It looks like your mistress has a boyfriend on the side. And it looks like you've been played for a fool, not just by her, but by a child that isn't even yours." The crowd surged forward, a wave of outrage and disbelief. Whispers turned to shouts. Oh my God! I knew she seemed shady. A baby that's not his? Mark was beyond furious. He grabbed Bethany by the arm, his fingers digging into her flesh. You lying bitch! You told me that was my goddaughter. You implied it was mine. You let me support you. His voice was laced with a chilling mix of rage and a deeply wounded pride. His public unveiling had spectacularly backfired. He had intended to humiliate me, but I had turned the spotlight onto his own colossal foolishness. Bethany shrieked, pulling away from him. Don't touch me! You think you're so smart, don't you? Thinking you could just ditch your wife and ride off into the sunset with me? I told you, he's just a friend, and the baby? You never asked for a DNA test, did you, Mark? Her eyes, filled with venom, darted to me. You set this up, you conniving snake! I learned from the best, Bethany, I said, a bitter smile touching my lips. I learned from you and your lover here. Suddenly, the muscular man from the photos, the other man, burst through the double doors at the back of the ballroom. He was dressed in a simple, dark suit, but his face was contorted with fury. He had clearly just arrived, probably expecting to meet Bethany for a different kind of rendezvous. His eyes landed on the chaotic scene, then on Bethany, and finally on the laminated printout still clutched in Mark's trembling hand. What the hell is going on here, Bethany? He roared, his voice cutting through the din. He strode purposefully towards the stage. Who is this guy? What are these pictures? Bethany's eyes widened in horror. Todd! No! Get out! Todd, the actual father and secret boyfriend, ignored her. He snatched the document from Mark's hand. His eyes scanned the photos, his face darkening with every passing second. Then he saw the DNA results. His jaw dropped, echoing Mark's earlier reaction. You told me it was an accident! You told me there was no one else! Todd bellowed, his voice laced with betrayal. He balled up the DNA report in his fist. And you son of a bitch! He pointed at Mark. You're trying to take my woman? And my kid? Mark, reeling from Bethany's confession and Todd's unexpected arrival, was utterly disoriented. Your kid? She said that was my goddaughter, that I was special. Special, my ass? Todd lunged at Mark, a furious primal roar escaping his lips. He threw a punch, connecting squarely with Mark's jaw. Mark staggered back, dropping the divorce papers, which scattered across the stage like confetti. The ballroom erupted into even greater pandemonium, shouts, screams, and the frantic attempts of guests to separate the brawling men filled the air. Security, finally realizing this was far more than just a domestic dispute, rushed forward. My lawyer, Mr. Henderson, quickly moved to my side, a look of grim satisfaction on her face. Well done, Daisy. Couldn't have written it better myself. Mark and Todd were now locked in a furious, messy brawl, punches flying, bodies crashing into tables. Bethany, caught in the middle, shrieked, trying to pull Todd off Mark, then turning her fury on Todd for exposing her. The beautiful ballroom, adorned with white roses and crystal, had devolved into a scene of utter, disgraceful chaos. It was a spectacular, very public display of infidelity, deceit, and raw, unfiltered rage. A true dog-eat-dog fight, unfolding for all to witness. Amidst the chaos, I felt a strange sense of calm. My mission was accomplished. The pain was still there, a dull ache, but it was overshadowed by an immense feeling of vindication. I watched for a moment longer as security guards finally pulled Mark and Todd apart, both men bruised and disheveled. Bethany was sobbing hysterically, her red dress torn. I gave a small, almost imperceptible nod to Mr. Henderson. Let's go, I said, my voice steady. As the crowd continued to murmur, point, and frantically discuss the unfolding drama, I quietly slipped away from the ballroom. No grand exit, no final speech, just a silent, dignified departure. The sweet honeysuckle scent outside the hotel now smelled like victory. My phone was already in my hand. I quickly called my lawyer, who had been on standby, to finalize the divorce proceedings. It's time to make it official, I stated, my voice calm and firm. The battle was over, the war was won, and my new beginning, truly on my terms, was finally ready to unfold. The moment I slipped out of that chaotic ballroom, leaving Mark and Bethany to their self-made spectacle, was the moment my true freedom began. My lawyer, Mr. Henderson, was already on the phone, her voice crisp and efficient. I quickly called her as she had been on standby to finalize the divorce proceedings, ensuring a swift and clean break. There was no turning back, no lingering doubt. The cold, hard facts of Mark's betrayal, coupled with Bethany's own duplicity, had solidified my resolve into something unbreakable. The weeks that followed were busy, but profoundly liberating. Mr. Henderson was a pit bull, just as I'd hoped. With the public humiliation as a powerful leverage point, and the undeniable evidence of Mark's and Bethany's deceptions, the divorce was swift. I wasn't interested in dragging it out, only in disentangling myself completely. I emerged from the ashes of my marriage stronger and more empowered. Every legal document signed, every asset secured, felt like shedding a layer of toxic skin. I successfully completed the divorce, securing my assets and reclaiming my independence. The shared bank accounts were split, the house sold, its proceeds fairly divided. There was no messy custody battle, no fight over a future that was never meant to be. News traveled fast in our city's tight-knit social and professional circles. Mark's public humiliation and subsequent legal battles with his now exposed mistress left him professionally disgraced and personally ruined, a fitting consequence for his deceit. His financial advisory firm, built on an image of trust and stability, quickly lost clients. Bethany, too, faced the music. Her reputation at the firm was shattered, and her messy split with Todd became local gossip. The poetic justice of watching them self-destruct, entangled in their own web of lies, wasn't a source of joy, but a quiet, almost grim satisfaction. They had sown chaos, and they reaped a whirlwind. For me, life began anew. Free from the toxic relationship and the burden of betrayal, I focused on my career and my personal well-being, embarking on a new life filled with genuine self-worth and peace. The suffocating weight of Mark's deceit was gone. I poured my energy into my work, taking on challenging projects at the marketing firm, finding renewed passion in creative problem-solving. My career soared, driven by a clarity and focus I hadn't realized I'd lost. But it wasn't just about work. I rediscovered myself. I started going to yoga classes, something Mark had always scoffed at. I took up pottery, enjoying the therapeutic process of shaping something beautiful from raw clay. I reconnected with old friends I'd inadvertently neglected during my marriage and forged new, authentic connections with people who celebrated my true self, not just the wife persona I'd cultivated. My apartment, once filled with furniture Mark had chosen, became a sanctuary filled with art, books, and quiet corners that truly felt like mine. I started traveling again, not on lavish pre-planned trips, but on spontaneous adventures. A solo weekend trip to the mountains, hiking trails, and breathing in crisp, clean air. A road trip down the California coast with a girlfriend, singing along to bad pop songs and laughing until our sides hurt. Each journey was a testament to my newfound freedom, a joyful exploration of a world that was now entirely open to me. My story serves as a powerful message. Deception may offer a fleeting illusion of control, but integrity, self-respect, and strategic truth ultimately prevail, ensuring that true liberation comes from reclaiming one's narrative and refusing to be a victim. I learned that healing isn't linear, but it is possible. There were still moments, quiet ones, when the hurt would resurface, a sharp pang of betrayal. But they were fewer and farther between. I allowed myself to feel them, to acknowledge the pain, and then I consciously chose to let them go. I deserved more than to be defined by his mistakes. What I gained was far more valuable than any apology or any material possession. I gained an unbreakable sense of self. I learned the immense power of trusting my instincts, even when the world tells me otherwise. I learned that knowing my worth means walking away from anything that diminishes it, and I learned that true love, whether with a partner or simply for oneself, thrives on honesty and respect, not on grand illusions or bitter betrayals. My life now is a testament to resilience, to the courage it takes to rebuild, and to the quiet triumph of finding peace after the storm. I am Daisy, 29 years old, and I am truly, completely, unapologetically free. And so, Daisy's journey of betrayal, unexpected revelation, and fierce reclamation concludes. Her story is a powerful reminder that even in the face of profound deception, self-respect and strategic strength can lead to a more authentic and liberating future. If Daisy's unwavering resolve, her intelligent counterattack, and her ultimate triumph resonated with you, please consider giving this story a like. Your support helps us share narratives that explore the complex realities of relationships and the empowering journey of self-discovery. For more compelling stories about overcoming adversity, navigating betrayal, and finding your true path, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We genuinely invite you to comment below with your thoughts on Daisy's actions, your own experiences with healing from heartbreak, or any insights this tale may have sparked within you. We truly value your feedback and appreciate every single comment. Thank you for joining us on Daisy's path to true liberation. We look forward to connecting with you again.